The winter wind cut through Beirut like a blade. December 1983. The Marine barracks still smoldered 3 weeks after the bombing that killed 241 Americans. Staff Sergeant Marcus Blackwood lay motionless on a rooftop 4 blocks from the Green Line, his M40A1 rifle steady against the concrete lip of a shattered building. 1,300 yards downrange, a Syrian-backed sniper had pinned down 40 Marines in an exposed courtyard. 3 Marines lay wounded. The others were trapped, unable to move forward or retreat. The enemy shooter was good, professional, patient. Marcus didn't rush. Rushing got you killed. The sandstorm that had rolled in an hour ago made the shot nearly impossible. Visibility dropped to maybe 600 yards on a good second. The wind gusted between 18 and 32 miles per hour, changing direction every few seconds. His spotter had already called it. "Ironside, no shot. We need air support." Marcus didn't answer. He was listening to something his spotter couldn't hear. The rhythm of the wind, the pattern in the chaos. His father had taught him to hunt elk in Wyoming blizzards when he was 8 years old. You don't fight the wind, you dance with it. He watched the sand swirl between buildings, counted the seconds between gusts. 7 seconds, then 11, then 7 again. There was a pattern. There was always a pattern. The enemy sniper fired again. A Marine in the courtyard grabbed his shoulder and went down. Marcus exhaled slowly. Let his heartbeat settle into that space between seconds, where the world goes quiet, where training becomes instinct, where the impossible becomes inevitable. He felt the wind shift against his cheek. 7 seconds. He squeezed the trigger. The rifle barked once. The sound echoed off demolished buildings and faded into the sandstorm. 4.2 seconds later, 1,300 yards away, the enemy sniper dropped from his perch. The courtyard Marines scrambled to cover. All 40 made it out. Marcus Blackwood didn't celebrate, didn't pump his fist, didn't even smile. He simply worked the bolt, extracted the spent casing, and dropped it into his pocket. 89. That was the number now. 89 confirmed kills across operations in Grenada, Lebanon, and classified missions he'd never be allowed to discuss. They started calling him Ironside after Beirut, the man who never missed, the legend who made impossible shots in impossible conditions. 23 years later, they still told stories about that shot, the 1 in a million. The shot that defied mathematics and meteorology and common sense. But Marcus Blackwood knew the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was patience, discipline, and the absolute certainty that when you put your eye to the scope, when you controlled your breathing and trusted your training, the bullet went exactly where you intended. Always. Colonel Marcus Blackwood sat in a wooden chair on the porch of his ranch house, watching the sun drop behind the Bighorn Mountains. December cold settled over Wyoming like a familiar blanket. He was 64 now, retired 3 years. His hair had gone silver, and his right knee protested every morning about the 2 Purple Hearts he'd earned in places the government still wouldn't acknowledge. The phone rang inside the house. He didn't rush to answer it. Nobody called the landline unless it mattered. He pushed himself up, joints cracking, and walked inside. The walls were covered with photographs, young Marines in dress blues, rifle range awards, a framed newspaper clipping from 1984 with the headline, "Marine Sniper Saves 40 in Beirut, Miracle Shot." He picked up the phone. "Dad." That one word told him everything. The excitement barely contained beneath professional control, the nervousness she was trying to hide, the pride. Hawk. He called her that since she was 6 years old. Reyna had the sharpest eyes he'd ever seen, could spot a mule deer at 800 yards before he could. She saw details other people missed, patterns in chaos, just like her old man. "I got in." Marcus closed his eyes. He'd known this was coming, had known since she was 12 and outshot every boy at Junior Rifle Club, had known since she graduated top of her class at Annapolis, Had known since she volunteered for every hard assignment the Corps offered. He'd known, and he dreaded it. Scout Sniper School. Yes, sir. Report date is January 3rd. Quantico. Marcus walked to the window. Outside, snow was starting to fall. Soft at first. Deceptive. By morning, it would be 3 feet deep, and the road would be impassable. Reyna, listen to me. Dad, I know what you're going to say. No, you don't. His voice carried the weight of 26 years in the Corps. They're going to come at you with everything they have, not because you're not good enough, because you are, and that terrifies them. Silence on the line. I've trained for this my whole life. I know you have. That's not what I'm worried about. Then what? Marcus pressed his forehead against the cold glass. They won't fight fair, Hawk. They'll change the rules, move the goalposts, make you jump through hoops nobody else has to jump through. And when you clear every one, they'll invent new ones. I can handle it. I know you can. Question is whether you should have to. Another pause. Then her voice came back, quieter but no less determined. You made the Beirut shot, 1,300 yards in a sandstorm. Everyone said it was impossible. That was different. How? I was trying to save lives. You're trying to change minds. Saving lives is easier. He heard her breathe out slowly. The same controlled exhale he'd taught her when she was 10 years old, learning to manage pre-shot jitters. Dad, I need to do this. Marcus nodded even though she couldn't see him. I know. Will you be there? For graduation? Hawk, I'll be there even if I have to crawl through 6 feet of snow and drag this bad knee across 3 states. She laughed. The sound was like spring water. Love you, Dad. Love you too. And Reyna? Yeah? Wyatt Dalton is at Quantico, Master Sergeant. He's running logistics for the sniper school. Dalton? From Desert Storm? Yeah, he owes me one. I'll call him. Just, if things get bad, he's good people. Dad, I know you don't need protection, but every sniper needs a spotter. Someone watching your 6. She was quiet for a moment. Okay. Be smart. Be safe. And Hawk? Yes, sir. Show them what Blackwood blood can do. Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia, January 1996. Captain Reyna Blackwood stood at attention in the pre-dawn darkness, her breath forming clouds in the frozen air. 50 other candidates stood in formation around her, shoulders back, eyes forward, waiting. She was the only woman. This fact had been made clear to her approximately 7 times in the past 2 hours. Once during check-in, twice during equipment issue, 4 times in casual conversation that wasn't casual at all. The questions always had the same edge. You sure you're in the right place? This isn't intel school, ma'am. Sniper training is pretty physical. She'd answered each one the same way, with silence and a level stare that made grown men uncomfortable. 5'6", 138 pounds. Dark brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun, so tight it gave her a headache. 28 years old. Captain, United States Marine Corps. Rifle expert qualification. Top 15% physical fitness scores for her age group, male or female. And the daughter of Marcus Ironside Blackwood, the most decorated sniper in modern Marine Corps history. No pressure. The barracks door slammed open. Major Garrett Thornton emerged, followed by 3 other instructors. Thornton was 42, barrel-chested, with the kind of face that looked perpetually angry, even in repose. Bronze Star, 2 Purple Hearts from Desert Storm, 17 years in the Corps, the last 4 running Scout Sniper School. He walked down the line of candidates slowly, studying each one. When he reached Reyna, he stopped. Blackwood. Yes, sir. Any relation to Marcus Blackwood? Yes, sir. He's my father. Thornton's jaw worked like he was chewing something bitter. Let me tell you something, Captain. Your father is a legend, one of the finest shots I ever had the privilege to witness. Beirut's shot is still taught in advanced marksmanship. Thank you, sir. I wasn't finished. Thornton stepped closer. But this isn't legacy admissions. This isn't Annapolis where daddy's reputation gets you through the door. This is Scout Sniper School. 91% attrition rate. In 52 years, exactly 0 women have graduated from this program. Reyna kept her eyes fixed on the middle distance. I'm aware, sir. Are you? Because statistics don't lie, Captain. They don't bend. They don't care about feelings or politics or whatever social experiment the Pentagon is running this year. Biology is biology. Upper body strength is upper body strength, and this course will break you. Understood, sir. Thornton leaned in close enough that she could smell coffee on his breath. Your father earned his reputation in blood, in combat. You think his name is going to carry you through my course? No, sir. Good, because I'm going to hold you to the exact same standard as every other Marine here. No special treatment, no allowances. You fail, you're out. Clear? Crystal, sir. Thornton straightened and addressed the formation. Gentlemen and Captain, welcome to hell. The next 12 weeks will determine whether you have what it takes to be a United States Marine Scout Sniper. Most of you will fail. Some of you will quit. A few of you will be injured badly enough that we'll have to send you home. He paused for effect. This is not rifle qualification. This is not marksmanship training. This is learning to become a precision weapon. You will shoot in conditions that make accuracy impossible. You will operate on 0 sleep, minimal food, and maximum stress. You will be cold, wet, hungry, and miserable for extended periods. And through all of that, you will be expected to place a single bullet into a target the size of a playing card at distances exceeding 1,000 yards. The wind picked up. Reyna's fingers were going numb. Some of you are here because you think snipers are cool, because you played video games or watched movies. You'll quit by week 2. Some of you are here because you genuinely believe you have what it takes. Most of you are wrong. You'll quit by week 5. A very few of you, maybe 6 or 7, will actually earn the Scout Sniper tab. The rest will go back to your units and tell stories about how hard this course was. Thornton's eyes found Reyna again. One more thing. If you're here to make a political statement, save us all the trouble and leave now. This school has standards that have kept Marines alive for over 5 decades. I will not compromise those standards. Not for anyone. Not for any reason. The message was clear, and it was aimed directly at her. Master Sergeant Wyatt Dalton stood 20 feet behind Thornton, arms crossed, watching. He was 56, lean and weathered like old leather. Close-cropped gray hair, a scar that ran from his left eyebrow to his jawline, courtesy of shrapnel from a Scud missile attack in 1991. When Thornton turned away, Dalton caught Reyna's eye for just a fraction of a second. The look wasn't obvious, wasn't friendly, but it wasn't hostile either. It was acknowledgement. Your father called. I see you. I'm watching. That was enough. Week 1 was designed to break bodies. 20-mile ruck marches with 80-pound packs, obstacle courses that left candidates bleeding from rope burns and scraped knees, pull-ups until muscle failure, fireman carries, low crawls through frozen mud, hours of plank position while instructors walked on candidates' backs. 11 candidates quit in the first 4 days. Reyna completed every evolution, often in the middle of the pack, sometimes near the front, never last. But Thornton watched her differently than the others, studied her like a problem that needed solving. On day 5, after the morning physical training, he called out to the formation. Captain Blackwood, front and center. She jogged over, breathing hard but controlled. Yes, sir. Pull-ups, let's see what you've got. The minimum standard for male Marines was 3 pull-ups. Most candidates could do 15 or 20. Reyna stepped up to the bar. How many, sir? Until I tell you to stop. She jumped up, grabbed the bar, and started. 1, 2, 3. Her form was perfect. Full extension at the bottom, chin over the bar at the top. No kipping, No swinging. 10, 15, 20. Her shoulders were screaming. Her forearms felt like they were tearing apart. 22, 23, 24. Stop! She dropped to the ground, shaking out her arms. Thornton didn't look impressed. Adequate. Now let's test real-world application. Corporal Brennan, front and center. A young Marine jogged over. Travis Brennan, 24 years old, 210 pounds of muscle. Captain, you're going to carry Corporal Brennan from here to that tree line. 400 yards. Combat casualty carry. If you drop him, you fail. 400 yards. The standard was 200. Reyna looked at Brennan. He gave her an apologetic shrug. Yes, sir. She helped Brennan position himself across her shoulders in a fireman's carry. 210 pounds settled onto her frame like a sack of concrete. She adjusted her grip, found her balance, and started walking. The first 100 yards weren't terrible. Uncomfortable, but manageable. The second 100 yards, her legs started shaking. The third 100 yards, she had to stop twice to readjust her grip. The fourth 100 yards, her vision started tunneling. She could hear her heartbeat in her ears, could feel every muscle in her body screaming for her to quit. But quitting wasn't an option. Quitting had never been an option. She made it to the tree line and set Brennan down as gently as her trembling arms would allow. Thornton was right behind her. 500 yards, not 400. She looked back. He was right. She'd miscalculated in her exhaustion. Outstanding work, Captain. Glad to see nepotism hasn't made you soft. The comment was designed to humiliate, to suggest her admission was based on her father's reputation rather than her own merit. Reyna said nothing, just stood at attention, sweat dripping down her face despite the January cold. Behind Thornton, Master Sergeant Dalton watched the exchange. His expression was carefully neutral, but his hands were clenched into fists. Week 3, range qualification. This was where candidates learned whether they could actually shoot. All the physical training meant nothing if you couldn't put bullets on target. The range was a half-mile of open ground with targets at various distances. 200 yards, 400, 600, 800. Each candidate had to achieve groupings within specified parameters or wash out. Reyna had been shooting since she was 6 years old. Her father had built a 1,000-yard range on their property in Wyoming. By the time she was 16, she could consistently hit targets at distances most shooters never attempted. 800 yards was routine. She settled into position behind her rifle. M40A1. The same model her father had carried in Beirut. The same model that had made the impossible shot that saved 40 Marines. The rifle felt like home. She controlled her breathing. 4 counts in, hold for 7, 8 counts out. Let the heartbeat settle into the space between seconds. The wind was negligible. Maybe 4 miles per hour left to right. She made the adjustment, squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked against her shoulder. 800 yards downrange, the target registered a hit, dead center. She worked the bolt, chambered another round, fired again. Another hit, same spot, 5 shots, 5 hits, grouping size, 3 inches. It was the tightest grouping of the day, better than most of the instructors could manage. Thornton walked down the firing line, reviewing targets. When he reached Reyna's, he stopped, studied it, said nothing. Then he walked to the rangemaster's station and picked up the microphone. Cease fire, all weapons safe. The line went quiet. Candidates looked up from their rifles. Captain Blackwood, come here. She stood, keeping her weapon pointed downrange, and walked over. Thornton pointed at her target. Explain your grouping. Sir, I followed standard procedure, calculated wind drift, adjusted for... I didn't ask for a textbook answer. I asked you to explain how you got the tightest grouping on this range today. Every candidate was listening now. Training, sir. My father taught me to shoot when I was... Your father? Thornton's voice dripped with something that might have been contempt. Of course. The famous Marcus Blackwood. Tell me, Captain, do you think his reputation should grant you special privileges in this course? No, sir. Because it seems to me that having access to private training facilities and one-on-one instruction from a legendary sniper might give you an unfair advantage over these other Marines who had to learn on standard military ranges. Reyna kept her face neutral. I can't control where I learn, sir. Only what I do with that training. Can't you? Thornton stepped closer. See, I have a problem with nepotism. Always have. Marine Corps is supposed to be a meritocracy. Best qualified gets promoted. Best shooter gets the tab. But when someone walks in here with a famous last name and 20 years of private instruction, it skews the playing field. Sir, every Marine here has had different training experiences. Don't lecture me about fairness, Captain. Thornton's voice went cold. Your stance is wrong. He reached out and shoved her shoulder. Hard. Reyna stumbled sideways but caught herself. Her rifle was still pointed safely downrange. She reset her stance, maintaining discipline. I said your stance is wrong. He shoved her again, harder this time. Sir, you think combat is going to be gentle? You think enemy fire is going to give you time to find your perfect little stance? Shove. You think being Marcus Blackwood's daughter makes you special? Shove. Answer me, Captain. No, sir. And then Thornton's hand came across her face in a backhand slap that snapped her head to the right. The sound echoed across the range like a rifle shot. Reyna tasted blood. Her lip had split against her teeth. The left side of her face was already going numb. 50 candidates, 4 instructors, the range master. Every single person on that firing line saw it happen. Nobody moved. Nobody said a word. Thornton stood over her, breathing hard, his face flushed with anger or adrenaline or something darker. Get up. Real Marines don't cry. Reyna pushed herself to her feet, wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand, looked Thornton directly in the eyes. She didn't cry, didn't flinch, didn't show fear. She just stood there, blood on her chin, and met his gaze with absolute calm. For just a moment, maybe half a second, something flickered across Thornton's face. Uncertainty. Maybe even recognition that he just crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Then his expression hardened again. Get back on the line. You're done for the day. Reyna picked up her rifle, cleared it, and walked back to her position. Her hands didn't shake. Her breathing didn't change. She moved like she was walking through a training exercise, not recovering from an assault. Master Sergeant Dalton stood 30 yards away, his jaw clenched so tight the muscles in his neck stood out like cables. His hands were gripping his clipboard hard enough to bend it. He'd served with Marcus Blackwood in Desert Storm, had watched Marcus pull him out of a burning Humvee after a Scud attack, owed the man his life, and he'd just watched Marcus's daughter get struck across the face by a commissioned officer. Watched and done nothing. The shame of it burned in his chest like acid. That night, after formation dismissed and candidates returned to barracks, Dalton made his way to the armory. He found Reyna there, alone, cleaning her rifle. She looked up when he entered. The left side of her face had swollen. A bruise was forming along her cheekbone. Master Sergeant, Captain. He pulled over a stool and sat down. Your father called me 3 weeks ago, asked me to keep an eye on you. I don't need. I know you don't. You made that pretty damn clear today. He paused. I should have stopped him. I froze. I'm sorry. Reyna ran a cleaning patch through her rifle barrel. If you'd stopped him, they'd just say I needed protection, that I couldn't handle the training. What he did wasn't training, it was assault. I know what it was. You going to report it? She looked up at him. Her eyes were clear, focused. If I report this now, what happens? Dalton knew the answer. Investigation. Maybe. More likely they'd pressure you to withdraw the complaint. Say you're causing division, hurting unit cohesion. They'd make your life hell until you quit, or they could wash you out on some technical violation. Right, so reporting accomplishes nothing except making me look weak. Then what's your play? Reyna assembled her rifle with practiced efficiency. I'm going to finish first in this class. So far ahead that they can't deny it, can't explain it away, can't attribute it to luck or nepotism or anything except pure skill. That's a tall order. I'm a Blackwood. Tall orders are what we do. She slid the bolt home with a metallic click. Then, when I have the tab and they can't take it away, I'll report what happened, with evidence they can't ignore. Dalton studied her for a long moment. You're more like your father than I thought. He taught me to be patient, to wait for the right shot. He also taught you that some shots are worth taking even when the odds are against you. He did, but he also taught me to stack the odds in my favor first. She stood up, slinging her rifle. I appreciate you checking on me, Master Sergeant, but I've got this. I know you do, but even the best snipers need a spotter. She paused at the door. You offering? Your father saved my life in '91. Figure I owe him. And you? Dalton stood. 0430 tomorrow. There's a training range on the backside of the base. Not official. Off the books. I can teach you some things your father might not have covered. Old school Cold War tactics. Stuff that's not in the manual anymore. Why would you risk that? Because what Thornton did today was wrong. And because I froze when I should have acted. This is me acting. He moved toward the door. Plus, your old man and I go back. He'd do the same for my kid. Reyna nodded slowly. 0430. I'll be there. Good. Bring your A game, Captain. We've got a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. After he left, Reyna stood alone in the armory for a long time. She walked to the mirror on the far wall and studied her face. The bruise was already turning purple. The split lip had stopped bleeding, but would need a few days to heal. She thought about her father, about the Beirut shot, about impossible odds and impossible shots, about the certainty required to squeeze a trigger when logic said the bullet couldn't possibly find its mark. She pulled out her phone and dialed Wyoming. Her father answered on the second ring. Hawk, you okay? Just those 3 words told her he already knew. Dalton must have called him. I'm fine, Dad. Dalton said Thornton hit you. He did. Silence on the line. When Marcus spoke again, his voice carried an edge she'd only heard a handful of times in her life. The voice that had ordered fire missions in Lebanon. The voice that didn't ask twice. Say the word and I'll drive out there tonight. Thornton won't. Dad, no. Reyna, I need to do this my way. If you come riding in, it proves his point, that I can't handle it, that I need Daddy to protect me. More silence, then a long exhale. What's your plan? Finish first, make it undeniable, then burn him. She heard something that might have been a laugh. That's my girl. Dad, when you made the Beirut shot, how did you know? Know what? That you could make it. 1,300 yards in a sandstorm. Everyone said it was impossible. Her father was quiet for a moment. I didn't know I could make it, not for certain. But I knew 3 things. 1, Marines were dying and I was the only one in position to help. 2, I trained for impossible shots my whole career. And 3, sometimes you have to take the shot even when you're not certain. Because not taking it is worse. Did you ever doubt yourself? Every single time. The moment you stop doubting is the moment you get sloppy. Doubt keeps you sharp, makes you check your math twice. But doubt isn't the same as fear. Fear freezes you. Doubt focuses you. Reyna touched the bruise on her face. I'm focused. I know you are. And Hawk, one more thing. Yeah? That shot in Beirut? I missed twice before I hit. Nobody tells that part of the story. They just remember the hit. But I had to adjust, had to learn. First shot was 6 inches low. Second was 8 inches right. Third was center mass. You never told me that. Because the lesson isn't about being perfect. It's about making adjustments, learning, adapting. He paused. Thornton hit you once. That's his shot. Now you know his range, his wind, his tendencies. Next time, you'll be ready. There won't be a next time. He's already shown his hand. Good, then you've got all the information you need. Now it's just execution. They talk for another 10 minutes. About training, about the ranch, about nothing and everything. When she hung up, Reyna felt something settle in her chest. Clarity, purpose. Thornton had made his move. Now it was her turn. And unlike Thornton, she wouldn't miss. 4:30 in the morning came cold and dark. Reyna stood at the edge of the unauthorized range, her breath forming clouds in the freezing air. The bruise on her face had deepened to purple-black overnight. Her lip was swollen but no longer bleeding. Master Sergeant Wyatt Dalton emerged from the tree line, carrying 2 rifle cases and a canvas bag that clinked with the sound of ammunition. "You're early." "Marines are always early, Master Sergeant." "Your father used to say the same thing." Dalton set down the cases. "Before we start, ground rules. What happens here stays here. You don't mention this training to anyone. Not your bunkmates, not other instructors, and especially not Thornton." "Understood." "Second rule, I'm not going easy on you because you're Marcus Blackwood's daughter, or because you're a woman, or because Thornton's got it out for you. In fact, I'm going to be harder on you than anyone else in that course, because that's the only way you're going to survive what's coming. I wouldn't want it any other way." Dalton opened the first rifle case. "Your father and I served together in Desert Storm, January 17th, 1991. Scud attack hit our position. Humvee caught fire with me inside. I was trapped, leg pinned. Your father pulled me out, took shrapnel in 3 places doing it, saved my life. He never mentioned it. He wouldn't. That's not his style." Dalton pulled out an old M40A1. This was his rifle, from Lebanon. He gave it to me after Beirut, said I'd need it someday. Figured I'd pass it to my kid. Never had one, so I'm passing it to you. Reyna took the rifle carefully. The wood was worn smooth from years of handling. There were scratches on the stock, hash marks someone had tried to sand away, but hadn't quite erased. 89 of them. "I can't accept this." "You're not accepting it, you're borrowing it. For the next 8 weeks, this rifle is going to teach you things the standard issue can't. Your father made shots with this weapon that shouldn't have been possible. The Beirut shot, Grenada, Panama, 3 other operations that are still classified." Dalton set up a target at 400 yards. "Standard qualification has you shooting in perfect conditions. Clear weather, minimal wind, good lighting. That's not combat. Combat is shooting when everything is against you. When you're cold, tired, scared. When your hands won't stop shaking and your vision is tunneling from adrenaline." He pulled a starter pistol from his bag. "So that's what we're going to train. I'm going to shoot this next to your ear while you're trying to make precision shots. I'm going to make you do burpees until you can't breathe, then immediately get on the rifle. I'm going to put you in ice water until you're shaking so hard you can barely hold the weapon. And then I'm going to make you hit targets." "When do we start?" "Right now. Get in position." Reyna settled behind her father's rifle. The scope was older than the modern optics she trained with, but the glass was crystal clear. She found the target, adjusted for the minimal wind, controlled her breathing. "Fire when ready." She squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked. 400 yards downrange, the target registered a hit. 2 inches high, 1 inch right. "Again." She adjusted, fired. Closer, 1 inch high, dead center. "Again." Perfect center mass. Dalton nodded. "Now drop and give me 50 burpees, fast as you can." Reyna set the rifle down carefully and started. Down, chest to ground, jump up, hands overhead, repeat. By 20, her lungs were burning. By 40, her legs were shaking. At 50, she was gasping for air. On the rifle, same target, 5 seconds. She dropped into position, tried to find the target through the scope. Everything was bouncing. Her heartbeat was hammering in her ears. She couldn't steady the crosshairs. 4 seconds. She forced her breathing to slow. Tried to find that space between heartbeats. 3. The crosshairs drifted across the target. 2. She squeezed the trigger. Miss. 6 inches low, 3 inches left. That's what adrenaline does. It makes you rush, makes you forget your training. Again, another 50 burpees. They worked for 90 minutes. By the time the sky started to lighten, Reyna had done 300 burpees, 200 push-ups, and fired more than 100 rounds. Her shoulders ached. Her hands were cramping, but her groupings were getting tighter. Last exercise, Dalton said. Cold bore shot. I know cold bore procedure. Not the way your father did it. Dalton pointed to a target at 600 yards. Cold barrel. No warm-up shots. No sighters. And I'm going to fire this starter pistol 6 inches from your right ear, exactly when you're supposed to pull the trigger. If you flinch, you miss. If you miss, we do this all over again tomorrow. Reyna checked the rifle. The barrel was ice cold. Cold bore shots were notoriously difficult because the first round through a cold barrel behaved differently than subsequent shots. The metal expanded as it heated, affected accuracy. Most snipers took a sighter shot first. Let the barrel warm up. She didn't have that luxury. She settled into position, found the target, calculated wind, 7 miles per hour, left to right, adjusted 2 clicks, controlled her breathing. Dalton stood next to her, starter pistol ready. She felt her heartbeat, counted the rhythm, found the space between beats. Her finger took up slack on the trigger. The starter pistol fired 6 inches from her ear. The sound was deafening. Every instinct screamed at her to flinch, to pull away. She squeezed through the noise. Her rifle fired a fraction of a second after the pistol. 600 yards downrange, the target registered a hit. Center mass. Dalton lowered his pistol. Your father made that same shot in Panama, under fire. First shot from a cold barrel at 580 yards. Dropped a hostile who had his team pinned down. That's the difference between qualification and combat. In combat, you don't get second chances. Reyna safed the rifle and stood up. Her ear was ringing from the pistol blast. Same time tomorrow, Master Sergeant? Every morning until final qualification. Now get to morning formation before someone notices you're late. Week 4 brought written examinations, ballistics, meteorology, range estimation, radio protocols. The academic portion of sniper school was as demanding as the physical training. Reyna studied every night until her eyes burned. She'd always been strong academically, but this was different. This wasn't memorizing dates or tactics. This was understanding the mathematics of death at distance. How wind speed at different altitudes affected bullet trajectory. How temperature affected powder burn rates. How barometric pressure changed point of impact. The exam was 3 hours long, 100 questions. Minimum passing score was 70%. When the results posted 2 days later, Reyna scanned the list. Her name was at the top. Captain R. Blackwood, 97 out of 100. It was the highest score in the class, 3 points higher than the next closest candidate. She felt a moment of satisfaction, then moved on. There was still work to do. The next morning, she was summoned to Major Thornton's office. He sat behind his desk, her exam in front of him. Didn't invite her to sit. Captain Blackwood, there's been an administrative error with your examination. Sir? Your recorded score is incorrect. There was a scanning error. Your actual score is 71%. Reyna felt ice form in her stomach. Sir, I reviewed my answers carefully. I'm confident I scored higher than... Are you questioning me, Captain? Sir, I'm requesting to review the answer sheet. There are procedures for score disputes. There's no dispute. The score is 71. Minimum passing is 70. You passed. Barely. Be grateful. Thornton slid a corrected score sheet across the desk. Her name. The new score in red ink. His signature at the bottom. You're dismissed. Reyna stood at attention. Her mind was racing. 26 points. He docked her 26 points, taking her from first in class to barely passing. She could feel the small recorder in her cargo pocket, the one she'd started carrying after the slap. She turned it on before entering his office. "Sir, for my records, can you explain which questions were marked incorrectly?" "I don't have to explain anything to you, Captain. The score is final." "I understand, sir, but if I made errors, I'd like to know what they were so I can learn from them." Thornton's jaw tightened. "You want to know your mistakes? Fine. Questions 12, 15, 18, 23, 27, 31, 34, 42, 47, 51, 58, 62, 67, 73, 79, 84, 88, 92, and 96. 20 questions. You got them wrong. That's 26 points. Can I review those specific questions with my answer sheet? The answer sheets have already been destroyed per protocol. Your score is 71. Do you have any other questions? No, sir. Then get out of my office. Reyna saluted and left. She walked directly to the latrine, locked herself in a stall, and pulled out the recorder, rewound it, played it back. His voice came through clear, listing the specific questions, admitting the answer sheets were destroyed, confirming the score change. She had him, but she couldn't use it yet, not until she'd finished, not until the tab was on her uniform and they couldn't take it away. She pocketed the recorder and went to find Master Sergeant Dalton. She found him in the equipment cage, inventorying ammunition. When he saw her face, he put down his clipboard. "What happened?" She told him. Everything. The score change, the destroyed answer sheets, the recording. Dalton's expression darkened with each sentence. "That son of a bitch. I need copies of the evidence. Can you help?" "Captain, what you're talking about is..." "I know what it is, and I know I'm asking you to risk your career, but I can't do this alone." Dalton was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I'll make copies, but they stay secured until you're ready to use them. If Thornton finds out you're building a case against him, he'll find a way to wash you out on some technicality before you can finish." "Agreed. There's something else you should know." Dalton glanced toward the door, making sure they were alone. "Corporal Brennan came to see me yesterday, the kid you carried in week 1. "What did he want?" "He saw Thornton alter your exam score. He was in the admin office delivering paperwork when Thornton thought he was alone. Brennan watched him change the grade sheet through the window. He's willing to testify? He's scared shitless. Thornton has a reputation for destroying careers. But yeah, he'll testify when the time comes. And there are others. 4 instructors who witnessed the assault. They haven't said anything officially, but they know what happened. When this goes public, they'll have to choose sides." Reyna processed this. "How many people know about the evidence?" "Just us. Brennan and your father. I called him last night, figured he should know." "What did he say?" "He asked me if I thought you could still win. I told him yes. He said, then let her win. She'll know when it's time to make the shot." Week 5 brought the stalking phase. Candidates had to move 700 yards across open ground without being detected by observer teams equipped with binoculars and spotting scopes. Most candidates failed this portion multiple times. Reyna remembered her father's lessons. Movement draws the eye. Stay still, and you're invisible. She spent 6 hours crawling through frozen grass and mud, moving no more than 6 inches per minute. By the time she reached the final line, her uniform was caked with dirt and her hands were numb. But she'd passed undetected. Thornton watched her complete the exercise with barely concealed frustration. Week 6 brought concealment training. Candidates had to hide from counter-sniper teams for 8 hours while maintaining observation on a target area. The day Reyna was tested, Thornton personally commanded the counter-sniper team. He brought thermal imaging equipment that wasn't standard for the exercise. Reyna recognized the setup immediately. He was changing the rules. Again, she'd trained for this. At 0400, She positioned herself in a creek bed. The water was barely above freezing. Within 20 minutes, her entire body was shaking from cold. Hypothermia became a real concern after 2 hours, but thermal imaging couldn't see through running water, and the creek bed provided perfect concealment from visual observation. She stayed in that water for 5 hours. By the time the exercise ended, she couldn't feel her legs. The base medic had to help her out of the creek and checked her for hypothermia. Core temperature, 94 degrees, 2 degrees away from requiring medical evacuation. But she'd passed, undetected for the entire observation period. Thornton said nothing when the results were posted, but his expression spoke volumes. Week 7. Field exercises moved to live fire portions. Candidates shot at targets from 200 yards out to 800 yards under various conditions. Reyna's morning training sessions with Dalton paid off. She'd shot in rain, snow, high wind, and darkness. She'd shot after sprints, after being in ice water, after being sleep-deprived. The standard field exercises felt easy by comparison. Her scores were consistently in the top 3, often first. Thornton stopped announcing individual scores, started only posting pass/fail results. But the other candidates knew. Word spread through the barracks. Captain Blackwood was crushing the qualification standards. The only woman in the course was outshooting most of the men. Some candidates resented it. A few made comments designed to undermine her, suggested her father was feeding her answers, implied the instructors were going easy on her. Most candidates, though, just watched in quiet respect. They'd seen her carry Brennan 500 yards. They'd seen her do 24 pull-ups. They'd seen Thornton slap her and watched her stand back up without crying. They'd also seen Thornton treat her differently than everyone else. Higher standards, more scrutiny, constant pressure, and she was still succeeding. Corporal Brennan started eating meals at her table. Then 2 other candidates joined. Then 4 more. By the end of week 7, half the class was sitting with her. A quiet statement of solidarity that made Thornton's face go red during evening formations. Week 8 brought the announcement everyone had been waiting for. Gentlemen and Captain, Thornton stood before the remaining candidates. 23 had started week 8. 5 had quit. 6 had been injured. 12 remained, including Reyna. Next week is final qualification, the long walk. 84 hours of field operations culminating in precision marksmanship under combat stress conditions. He let that sink in. You will carry 60 pounds of gear across 22 miles of terrain. You will conduct reconnaissance operations. You will execute stalking approaches. You will maintain concealment under active counter-sniper operations. And finally, you will engage targets at unknown distances from 600 to 1,100 yards under variable conditions. Thornton's eyes found Reyna. Final qualification is pass-fail. There are no second chances, no do-overs. You get 1 shot at each target. Miss, and you fail. Fail, and you go home. Some of you have made it this far through luck, through favoritism, through having the right last name. Next week, luck runs out. Next week, we separate the snipers from the tourists. After the briefing, Dalton pulled Reyna aside. He's going to sabotage the final test. I'd bet my retirement on it. I know. You have a plan? Same as before. Be so good, he can't deny it. That might not be enough. He's desperate now. 12 candidates made it to final qualification. You're the only woman to get this far in the school's history. If you pass, it undermines everything he's been saying about women not belonging here. He'll do whatever it takes to make you fail. Then I'll do whatever it takes to succeed. Dalton studied her. Your father called again last night. He wanted me to tell you something. What? He said, sometimes the hardest shots aren't about distance. They're about taking the shot when everyone says it's impossible. He said you'd understand. Reyna nodded slowly. She understood. The night before final qualification, she couldn't sleep. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the Beirut shot. 1,300 yards in a sandstorm. Impossible mathematics. Impossible conditions. Her father had made that shot, not because he was lucky, not because he was reckless, because he trusted his training, trusted his instincts, and refused to accept impossible as an answer. She got up and walked outside. The January night was cold and clear. Stars filled the sky. She pulled out her phone, started to call Wyoming, then stopped. She didn't need her father's voice tonight. She needed her own. She thought about the past 8 weeks, the pull-ups, the 500-yard carry, the slap, the ice water, the score tampering. Every obstacle Thornton had thrown at her, she'd cleared them all. Tomorrow would be no different. She went back inside, lay down in her bunk. This time sleep came. The morning of final qualification arrived with freezing rain, the kind that soaked through everything and made hands clumsy and vision blurry. Perfect conditions for misery, perfect conditions for failure, perfect conditions to prove something. The 12 remaining candidates assembled at 0300. Each carried 60 pounds of gear, food, water, ammunition, cold weather gear, radio, medical supplies. Thornton stood before them in full cold weather gear, dry and comfortable. The course is marked with grid coordinates, 22 miles. You will move to each checkpoint, execute the assigned task, and move to the next checkpoint. Time limit is 84 hours. Fall behind schedule and you fail. Miss a checkpoint and you fail. Fail any individual task and you fail. Questions? No one spoke. Outstanding. Your first checkpoint is 8 miles north. Move out. They moved out into the freezing rain. By mile 3, Reyna's uniform was soaked through. By mile 5, her fingers were going numb. By mile 8, she was shivering uncontrollably. The first checkpoint required stalking through a 600-yard observation zone. She completed it in 4 hours, undetected. The second checkpoint required maintaining overwatch for 8 hours while recording movement in a target area. She logged 73 instances of movement, all accurate. The third checkpoint was the concealment test. 8 hours of hiding from active counter-sniper teams. Thornton commanded the counter-sniper team again. This time he had authorization. This was final qualification. He could use any assets available. He brought thermal imaging, ground-penetrating radar, sound detection equipment. Reyna found a drainage culvert that ran under a service road, crawled into it, positioned herself in standing water, let her body temperature drop until she was barely warmer than the surrounding environment. 8 hours later, soaked in hypothermic, she emerged, undetected. The medic checked her temperature, 93.6 degrees. Captain, I need to pull you for medical reasons. No. Ma'am, you're hypothermic. I need to finish. Check me again in 30 minutes. If my temperature hasn't risen, pull me then. The medic looked at Thornton. Thornton's expression was unreadable. 30 minutes, not a second more. Reyna forced herself to move. Jumping jacks, burpees, running in place, anything to generate heat. The movement was agony. Her muscles were seized up from the cold, but she kept moving. 28 minutes later, the medic checked again. 95.2 degrees. You're clear, barely. She grabbed her gear and moved to the next checkpoint. Hour 68, the shooting phase began. 600 yards, one shot, hit. 800 yards, one shot, hit. 1,000 yards, one shot, hit. 3 targets, 3 hits. Perfect score. 4 other candidates had also hit all 3. Hour 84, the final target, 1,100 yards. Unknown wind conditions, moving target. The 12 candidates gathered at the final firing line. This was it, the shot that separated snipers from everyone else. Thornton stood at the rangemaster's position. Gentlemen, Captain, final qualification shot. 1,100 yards. The target will execute evasive maneuvers. You have 30 seconds to observe, then one shot. Miss and you fail the course. He paused for effect. Due to current weather conditions and safety considerations, targets will move in unpredictable patterns. This is not standard protocol, but combat is not standard. Questions? It was sabotage. Open sabotage. Everyone knew it. No one said anything. The first candidate stepped to the firing line, observed for 30 seconds, fired, miss. Second candidate, miss. Third candidate, hit. Fourth candidate, miss. Fifth through 10th candidates, 2 hits, 4 misses. 11th candidate, Corporal Brennan. He took his time, observed the full 30 seconds, made his calculations, fired, hit. That made 4 hits out of 11 candidates, a 36% pass rate, the worst in Scout Sniper School history. Reyna stepped to the firing line. Thornton's voice came over the loudspeaker. Captain Blackwood, you are authorized to use standard M40A1 with optics. Reyna looked at the rifle in her hands, her father's rifle, the one that had made the Beirut shot, the one that had taught her more in 8 weeks than 12 years of standard training. She reached down and removed the scope. Gasps from the other candidates. Dalton, standing 30 yards away, closed his eyes. Thornton's voice again, barely concealing satisfaction. Captain, are you certain about that decision? Yes, sir. For the record, you are choosing to attempt final qualification with iron sights only. Correct, sir. Proceed when ready. Reyna settled into position. The rifle felt like an extension of her body. She'd fired thousands of rounds through this weapon in the past 8 weeks, knew its tendencies, knew how it breathed. She observed the target through the iron sights, 1,100 yards downrange, barely visible in the freezing rain. The target moved left, paused, moved right. No pattern, completely unpredictable. The wind was gusting between 14 and 22 miles per hour. Variable direction, impossible to calculate with precision. 30 seconds of observation. She didn't calculate, didn't do the mathematics. The conditions were too variable for math. Instead, she did what her father had taught her. She felt it. Felt the wind on her face, the rhythm of the gusts, the pattern hidden in the chaos. She closed her eyes for 3 seconds, breathed, found that space between heartbeats where the world goes quiet, opened her eyes. The target moved right. Her instinct said it would pause for 2 seconds, then move left. She led the target, exhaled halfway, let muscle memory take over, squeezed the trigger. The rifle barked. 1,100 yards away, through freezing rain and impossible wind, the bullet flew. 4.2 seconds of flight time. Every person on that range held their breath. The range officer's voice crackled over the radio. Target hit, center mass, confirmed kill shot. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Corporal Brennan started clapping, slowly at first. Then the other candidates joined, even the ones who'd failed, even the ones who'd resented her. They stood in the freezing rain and applauded. Reyna safed her rifle and stood up. Her hands were shaking, not from cold, from the adrenaline finally releasing. She'd done it, made the impossible shot. With iron sights, at 1,100 yards, in freezing rain, on a moving target. First woman in 52 years to reach this moment, and she'd done it better than anyone expected. Master Sergeant Dalton walked over. His eyes were red. Might have been the cold, might have been something else. Your father's going to lose his mind when I tell him. Tell him I used his rifle. He'll understand. A black SUV pulled up to the range. Unusual. Nobody had mentioned observers. The door opened. A woman in marine dress blues stepped out, 3 stars on her collar. Lieutenant General Victoria Hastings. Thornton's face went pale. The general walked directly to Thornton, didn't salute, didn't smile. Major Thornton, my office, now. The conference room at Marine Corps Base Quantico had been built in 1952. The walls held photographs of every Scout Sniper class that had graduated in the past 5 decades. Hundreds of faces, thousands of Marines who'd earned the tab. Not a single woman among them. until now. Lieutenant General Victoria Hastings sat at the head of the long table. Two military police officers stood by the door. Master Sergeant Dalton sat to her right, a manila folder in front of him. To her left, an empty chair waited. Major Garrett Thornton entered, his uniform still wet from the range. He saluted sharply. "Ma'am, you requested my presence." "Sit down, Major." Thornton sat. His eyes flicked to the folder in front of Dalton, then to the MPs by the door. His jaw tightened. Hastings opened her own folder. "Major Thornton, how long have you commanded Scout Sniper School?" "4 years, ma'am. And in those 4 years, how many female candidates have applied for admission?" "I'd have to check the records, ma'am." 17. "Do you know how many were accepted?" "Again, I'd need to verify." 1. Captain Reyna Blackwood. "Do you know why only 1 was accepted?" Thornton's face flushed. "Ma'am, the standards for this school are rigorous. Most female applicants don't meet the minimum physical requirements. Captain Blackwood met every physical requirement, exceeded most of them. Yet according to multiple witness statements, you imposed additional standards on her that were not required of male candidates. Is that correct?" "Ma'am, I hold all candidates to the highest." "Answer the question, Major. Did you or did you not require Captain Blackwood to complete 18 pull-ups when the minimum standard is 3? Silence. "Did you or did you not require her to carry a 210-pound casualty 500 yards when the standard is 200 yards? More silence. Hastings pulled a photograph from her folder, placed it on the table. It showed Reyna's face 3 days after the assault, the bruise dark purple, the split lip clearly visible. "Did you or did you not strike Captain Blackwood across the face during range qualification in week 3? Thornton stared at the photograph. "Ma'am, that was a training correction. Sometimes physical." 53 witnesses, Major. 53 Marines watched you backhand a student across the face. Not push her, not correct her stance. Backhand her. And according to these witness statements, you did it after she just posted the highest marksmanship score of the day." Dalton slid his folder across the table. Hastings opened it. "Master Sergeant Dalton, please explain what we're looking at." "Ma'am, this is Captain Blackwood's written examination from week 6. The original scan shows a score of 97%, the highest in the class. This second document shows the same exam with a recorded score of 71%. The minimum passing score is 70. Hastings held up both documents. "Major Thornton, can you explain this discrepancy?" "Administrative error, ma'am. The scanning system..." "Master Sergeant?" Dalton pulled out a small digital recorder. "Ma'am, Captain Blackwood recorded her conversation with Major Thornton when he informed her of the score change. With your permission?" Hastings nodded. Dalton pressed play. Thornton's voice came through clearly, listing the questions she'd supposedly gotten wrong, admitting the answer sheets had been destroyed, telling her the score was final. When the recording ended, the room was silent except for the hum of the heating system. Hastings closed the folder. "Major Thornton, you have committed assault on a subordinate, falsified official records, destroyed evidence, and attempted to sabotage a final qualification by implementing non-standard protocols specifically designed to cause a candidate to fail. Ma'am, I can explain." "You're done explaining." Her voice could have cut steel. "Corporal Brennan, please come in." The door opened. Corporal Travis Brennan entered, looking nervous but determined. "Corporal Brennan witnessed you altering Captain Blackwood's exam scores. He's prepared to testify under oath. Are there any other instructors who wish to come forward?" The door opened again. 4 instructors entered. Lieutenant Morrison, Sergeant First Class Williams, Staff Sergeant Garrett Williams, Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez. All 4 had witnessed the assault in week 3. All 4 had remained silent. Until now. Hastings looked at each of them. "Gentlemen, your silence enabled this abuse to continue. That will be addressed separately, but your testimony is needed now. Did you witness Major Thornton strike Captain Blackwood?" All 4 nodded. Let the record show affirmative responses from all witnesses. Hastings stood. Major Garrett Thornton, you are hereby relieved of command of Scout Sniper School, effective immediately. You will surrender your weapon and credentials to the military police. You are confined to quarters, pending formal charges of assault, fraud, conduct unbecoming an officer, and obstruction of justice. The two MPs moved forward. Thornton stood abruptly. Ma'am, this is bullshit. That woman has been a distraction since day one. She doesn't belong here. Her father's reputation got her in the door, and you're protecting her because of politics. Captain Blackwood, Hastings said quietly, just made an 1,100-yard shot with iron sights on a moving target in freezing rain, the highest qualification score in the 52-year history of this school. She did it after you subjected her to 8 weeks of harassment, assault, and sabotage. She didn't succeed because of her father's reputation. She succeeded despite your best efforts to break her. Thornton's face went red. You're destroying my career over one spoiled brat who... Master Sergeant, play the second recording. Dalton pulled out another recorder. This one was smaller, newer. This is from week 7. Captain Blackwood was wearing a wire during evening formations. He pressed play. Thornton's voice. I don't care if she's qualified. I don't care if she's the best shooter in the class. No woman is getting a Scout Sniper tab on my watch. I don't care what it takes. She fails. End of story. Another voice. Sir, if she's legitimately qualified, Thornton, then we make sure she's not. Rig the final test. Moving targets. Irregular patterns. She'll miss. They all do when you change the conditions. The recording ended. Hastings looked at Thornton with something close to disgust. You didn't just assault a student, Major. You conspired to defraud the United States Marine Corps by manipulating qualification standards based on gender. That's a federal crime. The MPs moved in. One took Thornton's sidearm. The other produced handcuffs. You can't do this. I have 17 years of service. I have commendations. I served in Desert Storm. And you dishonored every one of those years of service the moment you let your prejudice override your duty. Hastings nodded to the MPs. Take him. They cuffed Thornton and let him out. His protests echoed down the hallway until a door slammed shut. The room exhaled. Hastings turned to the 4 instructors who'd witnessed the assault. Gentlemen, you saw a crime and said nothing. You prioritized your careers over your integrity. That makes you complicit. You're all reassigned effective immediately. Your fitness reports will reflect failure to report misconduct. Whether you remain in the Marine Corps is up to your commanding officers. Dismissed. They filed out, faces pale. Dalton remained seated. Master Sergeant, you did the right thing. Late, but right. That counts for something. Ma'am, I should have stopped him in week 3, the moment he hit her. You should have, but you're stopping him now. And you've been training Captain Blackwood off the books, haven't you? Dalton's eyes widened slightly. Ma'am, Master Sergeant, I've been a Marine for 34 years. You think I don't know what 0430 training sessions look like? You think I don't recognize a mentorship when I see one? She almost smiled. You're not in trouble. You're being commended. Navy Commendation Medal for moral courage and exceptional mentorship. It'll be in your service record by Friday. Ma'am, I don't deserve... Marcus Blackwood pulled you out of a burning Humvee in '91. You just spent 8 weeks making sure his daughter survived a different kind of fire. I'd say you've paid that debt. Hastings stood. Now go tell Captain Blackwood she's graduated, first in her class, and that she's got 3 weeks before she reports to her first duty station. Dalton stood, saluted, started to leave. Master Sergeant, ma'am, thank you for doing what those other instructors wouldn't. The Corps needs more Marines like you. The days following Thornton's arrest were chaos. News leaked to the media. Conservative talk shows debated whether standards had been lowered. Marine Corps leadership scrambled to control the narrative. Reyna sat in her barracks room, watching cable news dissect her achievement. The question isn't whether Captain Blackwood is qualified, a retired colonel argued on screen. It's whether the Marine Corps changed the rules to create a political victory. She turned off the TV. A knock on the door. Master Sergeant Dalton entered. Ignore them, Captain. They weren't there. They didn't see you carry Brennan 500 yards. They didn't see you stay in ice water for 5 hours. They don't get a vote. What if they're right? What if people think I only passed because Hastings intervened? Then the 11 Marines you'll save in Somalia will set them straight. This isn't about what people think. It's about what you did. She nodded slowly. When does this get easier? Never. Being first means everything you do gets scrutinized. But that's the price of opening doors. He handed her a folder. Your deployment orders came through early. You leave for Somalia in 2 weeks instead of 3. They're rushing me out? They're getting you into combat where you can prove yourself again. Politics ends when bullets fly. Let your work speak. 3 weeks later, the graduation ceremony took place on a cold February morning. The sky was clear for the first time in weeks. Sunlight reflected off the frost-covered parade ground. 16 candidates stood in formation. 16 out of 51 who'd started 12 weeks ago. 69% attrition rate, lower than average, but still brutal. Captain Reyna Blackwood stood in the center of the formation. First in her class, highest combined score in qualification history, the first woman to graduate Scout Sniper School. In the stands, family members watched. Brothers, fathers, wives, children, all bundled against the cold. In the front row, a man in marine dress blue sat in a wheelchair. Colonel Marcus Ironside Blackwood, retired. 64 years old, silver hair, 3 rows of ribbons on his chest, eyes that still saw things other people missed. Next to him sat Lieutenant General Victoria Hastings. Your daughter is remarkable, Colonel. She's a Blackwood. We're all stubborn as hell. She's more than stubborn. She's exceptional. That final qualification shot, with iron sights. I've been in the Corps 34 years. Never seen anything like it. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. She called me that night, asked if I'd ever made a shot like that. You know what I told her? What? That I missed twice before I hit in Beirut. Took 3 shots to figure out the wind. She made it on the first try. She's better than I was. The ceremony began. Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Santos, the new commander of Scout Sniper School, called the graduates forward one by one. When Reyna's name was called, the applause was thunderous. She marched forward, saluted. Santos returned the salute, then held out the Scout Sniper tab, the small patch that represented 12 weeks of hell and decades of tradition. Captain Blackwood, you have earned this through exceptional performance, unwavering dedication, and courage beyond measure. Wear it with pride. Thank you, ma'am. Santos pinned the tab to Reyna's uniform. Then she did something unusual. She saluted again. Reyna returned the salute, confused. That salute isn't for your rank, Captain. It's for what you've accomplished. For every woman who come after you. For changing what's possible. The ceremony continued. All 16 graduates received their tabs. Then came the awards portion. Captain Reyna Blackwood, front and center. Reyna stepped forward again. For exceptional performance during Scout Sniper qualification, Captain Blackwood is awarded the Marine Corps Achievement Medal. Additionally, for setting the highest combined qualification score in school history, her name will be added to the Distinguished Graduate Plaque. More applause. Finally, Colonel Marcus Blackwood, if you would join us. Marcus wheeled himself forward. Someone offered to push him. He waved them off. He'd push himself. He positioned his wheelchair next to his daughter. Santos addressed the crowd. Many of you know the legend of the Beirut shot. 1,300 yards in a sandstorm. An impossible shot that saved 40 Marines. That shot was made by then Staff Sergeant Marcus Blackwood with this rifle. She held up Marcus's old M40A1, the one Dalton had loaned to Reyna. the one with 89 hash marks that had been sanded away, but not forgotten. Colonel Blackwood, your service to the Marine Corps is legendary. Your daughter has honored that legacy while forging her own. Would you like to say anything? Marcus looked up at Reyna, saw the tab on her uniform, saw the pride in her eyes, saw the woman she'd become. Reyna, when you were born, the doctor told me you had your eyes open. Most babies keep them closed for hours. Not you. You came into this world looking around, taking everything in. Even then, you had the eyes of a sniper. Quiet laughter from the crowd. I taught you to shoot because shooting is a skill, but I couldn't teach you courage. I couldn't teach you integrity. I couldn't teach you how to stand up when someone knocks you down. You learn that yourself. And what you did here these past 12 weeks wasn't just about earning a tab. It was about proving that excellence has no gender, that courage looks the same on everyone, that standards should be high, but they should be fair. He reached into his jacket and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. This rifle has been in our family since 1983. It's made shots that shouldn't have been possible, saved lives that should have been lost. I carried it in Lebanon, Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm. Master Sergeant Dalton loaned it to you for training. Now I'm giving it to you, permanently. Not because you're my daughter, because you're the better shot, and because this rifle belongs with someone who'll use it to protect Marines and uphold the values we both swore to defend. He handed her the wrapped rifle. Reyna took it carefully, unwrapped it, held her father's rifle, the rifle that had taught her more than a decade of formal training. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for making an old man proud. Now get out there and show them what Blackwood blood can do. After the ceremony, after the congratulations and photographs, Reyna pushed her father's wheelchair to a quiet spot behind the parade ground. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. Marcus broke the silence first. Your mother would have been proud. She always said you had my stubbornness, but her heart. Reyna hadn't expected that. Her mother had died when she was 12. Cancer. Quick and brutal. I wish she could have seen this. She did. I believe that. Marcus looked out at the darkening sky. When you were 8, she told me something. She said, Marcus, our daughter is going to change the world, not because she's a Blackwood, because she's herself. I didn't understand what she meant then. I do now. Reyna knelt beside the wheelchair, eye level with her father. I was terrified, Dad, every single day. Terrified I'd fail. Terrified I'd prove Thornton right. Terrified I'd let you down. And you did it anyway. That's courage, not the absence of fear, acting despite it. He reached up, touched the scout sniper tab on her uniform. This isn't just yours. It belongs to every woman who comes after you. Every girl who's told she can't. Every Marine who's judged before they're given a chance. You carried all of them through that course. That's a heavy weight. It is. But you're a Blackwood. We carry heavy things. They sat in silence as stars began appearing overhead. The same stars that had watched over Beirut in 1983. The same stars that would watch over Somalia. Dad? Yeah, Hawk? Thank you for everything, for teaching me, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Marcus squeezed her hand. Thank you for being brave enough to take the shot. The ceremony concluded. Families flooded onto the parade ground to congratulate the graduates. Corporal Travis Brennan approached Reyna, his own new Scout sniper tab gleaming on his uniform. Ma'am, I wanted to thank you. For what, Brennan? For carrying me in week 1, for showing us what right looks like, and for having the guts to report Thornton. A lot of us knew he was wrong, but you're the one who did something about it. You did something too. You testified. That took courage. Nothing compared to what you did. He extended his hand. It was an honor to graduate with you, ma'am. She shook his hand. The honor was mine, Corporal. Master Sergeant Dalton approached after Brennan left. Captain, hell of a shot out there. Couldn't have done it without your training, Master Sergeant. Bullshit. That shot was all you. Your father called this morning. Wanted me to tell you he's proud. Also said to tell you that you're buying dinner when you get to Wyoming. Apparently making impossible shots means you're paying. Reyna laughed. Sounds like him. One more thing. Dalton handed her an envelope. Lieutenant General Hastings wanted you to have this. Your orders. Reyna opened it, read quickly. Her eyebrows rose. 1st Marine Expeditionary Unit, Somalia deployment, 6 months. Congratulations, Captain. You're going to combat. 8 months later, Mogadishu, Somalia, October 1996. The city was chaos. Warlords fighting for territory. Humanitarian aid convoys under constant attack. Marines deployed to secure supply routes and protect civilians. Captain Reyna Blackwood lay prone on a rooftop overlooking a main supply route. Her father's rifle was positioned on its bipod. 950 yards downrange, a Marine convoy had been ambushed. 3 vehicles disabled. 11 Marines pinned down by hostile fire from a building complex. Her spotter, Corporal James Mitchell, scanned the target area through binoculars. I count 6 hostiles. 3rd floor windows. They've got RPGs. If they get another shot at those vehicles, we're going to have casualties. Range? 950. Wind 2700. 8 miles per hour. Call it 1 click left. Reyna made the adjustment, found the first target through her scope. A man with an RPG positioned in a window. He was moving, ducking behind cover, firing, moving again. Hawk 6, this is Overwatch 1. I have eyes on 6 hostiles with heavy weapons. Request clearance to engage. The radio crackled. Overwatch 1, Hawk 6, cleared hot. Our people are dying down here. Reyna controlled her breathing, let her heartbeat settle. The target moved to the window again. 3 seconds, maybe 4 before he'd fire the RPG. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle barked. 950 yards away, the hostile dropped. Hit. 1 down. She worked the bolt, found the second target. He was moving to a different window, saw his partner drop, started to take cover. She fired. Hit. 2 down. The remaining 4 hostiles scattered. One made the mistake of running across an open room. She tracked him, led him by 3 feet, fired. Hit. 3 down. The 4th hostile was learning. He moved in short bursts, never stayed exposed more than 2 seconds. Professional training, maybe former Soviet-backed militia. He's good, Mitchell muttered. Not good enough. Reyna tracked the window where he disappeared, counted the seconds. Hostile fighters had patterns. They didn't realize it, but they did. This one moved every 12 seconds, like clockwork. 8 seconds, 9, 10. She put her crosshairs on the corner of the window frame where he'd appear. 11, 12. The man's head emerged. She fired before her conscious mind registered the target. Hit. 4 down. Jesus, ma'am, how did you know he'd pop up there? Everyone has a pattern. You just have to be patient enough to find it. The 5th hostile made a critical error. He tried to retreat to a different room, crossed an interior doorway, 3-foot opening, maybe 1 second of exposure. Reyna was already tracking the doorway. Her father's voice echoed in her head. Lead the target. Don't chase it. She fired. The hostile appeared in the doorway exactly as her bullet arrived. Hit. 5 down. The 6th hostile was smarter, stayed behind cover, didn't expose himself. Lost visual on target 6, Mitchell said. He's still there. He'll have to move eventually. They always do. They waited. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then a head appeared in a doorway. Just for a second, checking if the sniper was still active. Reyna was ready. Fired. Hit. All targets eliminated. The radio crackled with excitement. Overwatch 1, Hawk 6. We're moving wounded to extraction. You just saved our asses up there. 6 shots, 6 kills. Outstanding shooting. Hawk 6, Overwatch 1. Just doing my job. Glad your people are safe. 3 weeks later, footage of the engagement appeared on NBC News. A correspondent had been embedded with the Marine unit. His camera had captured parts of the firefight and the subsequent rescue. The story ran with the headline, "First Female Marine Sniper Saves Unit in Somalia Combat." The footage showed the pinned Marines, the hostile fire, the sudden cessation of enemy attacks. Then showed Reyna on the rooftop, rifle steady, making impossible shots look routine. It went viral. Not because of politics, not because of gender, because it showed a Marine doing what Marines do, protecting their brothers and sisters, making the hard shots when lives were on the line. The Marine Corps didn't know what to do with the attention at first. Female combat roles were still controversial, but the footage was undeniable. Captain Blackwood had saved 11 Marines. The mission continued because she'd been there. The right person, the right place, the right shot. Back at Quantico, Lieutenant General Hastings watched the news coverage in her office. Then she picked up her phone and called the Commandant of the Marine Corps. "Sir, we need to talk about Scout Sniper School admissions policies." 6 months after that conversation, Scout Sniper School announced new procedures: blind qualification scoring, third-party oversight of physical standards, anonymous reporting systems for harassment or abuse, zero-tolerance policy for assault. Applications from female Marines increased from 17 over 4 years to 23 in the next class alone. 5 women were accepted. 3 graduated. The number grew every year after that. January 2024, 28 years after Reyna Blackwood graduated Scout Sniper School, the base at Quantico held a ceremony dedicating a new memorial. A simple black granite wall with names engraved in silver. The names of every Scout Sniper who'd graduated and subsequently died in combat. Next to the memorial, a second plaque. This one showed a rifle, an M40A1, the same model that had made the Beirut shot, the same model that had made the impossible Ironside's shot in 1996. The inscription read, "Captain Reyna Hawk Blackwood, USMC, first female Marine Scout Sniper graduate, January 1996. Final qualification, 1,100 yards, iron sights, moving target. Excellence knows no gender. Courage looks the same on everyone." 11 Marines saved, Mogadishu, Somalia, October 1996. The ceremony was small, a few dozen people, current Scout Sniper instructors, recent graduates, family members. Lieutenant Colonel Reyna Blackwood stood before the memorial, 56 years old now, retired 5 years ago, silver in her hair, reading glasses she refused to wear in public. 3 daughters, 2 of whom had joined the Marines. None had gone to sniper school. They'd chosen their own paths. Next to her, in a wheelchair, Colonel Marcus Blackwood, 92 years old, still sharp, still saw details others missed, still told stories about the Beirut shot to anyone who'd listen. The current commandant of Scout Sniper School, Colonel David Preston, addressed the small crowd. 200 women have graduated since 1996. They've served in every major conflict, saved lives, completed impossible missions. Captain Blackwood opened that door. He gestured to the memorial. This plaque honors the Marine who made that possible. Not because she was the first woman, because she was exceptional. Because when every obstacle was placed in her path, she overcame it. Because when the shot seemed impossible, she made it anyway. Preston turned to Reyna. "Colonel Blackwood, would you like to say anything?" Reyna stepped forward, looked at the memorial, at her name in silver letters, at the rifle engraved in granite. 28 years ago, I stood where you're standing. I was told I didn't belong, that women couldn't meet the standards, that I was only there because of my father's reputation. And for a while, I believed maybe they were right." She paused. "But then someone reminded me that standards should be high, but they should be fair. That courage isn't about never being afraid, it's about acting despite fear. And that the only person who could prove I belonged was me. She looked at the current class of Scout sniper students standing in formation. 5 women among 47 men. If you're here, you've earned it. Don't let anyone tell you different. The tab on your uniform at graduation won't say how many pull-ups you did or how many obstacles you overcame. It'll just say Scout Sniper. And that's enough. That's everything. A young female second lieutenant approached after the ceremony, 24 years old, starting Scout Sniper training next week. "Ma'am, I'm Lieutenant Sarah Bradford. I'm here because of you." Reyna shook her hand. "No, Lieutenant, you're here because you qualified, because you're capable. I didn't do that. You did. But you opened the door. Maybe, but you still have to walk through it. And walking through it is the hard part." The lieutenant nodded. "Can I ask you something, ma'am?" "Of course. Are you nervous, knowing I'm about to do what you did?" Reyna smiled. "I'm not nervous at all. You know why?" "Why, ma'am?" "Because I've seen what comes next. I've seen 200 women graduate. I've seen them serve in combat. I've seen them save lives and complete missions, and prove every single day that excellence has no gender. So no, Lieutenant, I'm not nervous. I'm proud." After the lieutenant walked away, Marcus wheeled his chair next to his daughter. "Hell of a speech, Hawk. Learn from the best, Dad." They sat in comfortable silence, looking at the memorial. "You ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Making it harder for yourself by going the Ironside's route?" "No, it had to be undeniable. Had to be something they couldn't explain away or attribute to luck. Had to be legendary. It was legendary. Still is." He looked up at her. "You know what I'm most proud of?" "What?" "That you changed the system. The shot was impressive, sure, but shots are easy. Changing minds, changing cultures, changing what people believe is possible. That's the hard work. And you did it." Reyna knelt down next to his wheelchair, put her hand on his. "You taught me to shoot, Dad, but you also taught me why it mattered. That being good at something isn't enough. You have to use that skill to protect people, to make things better, to leave the world a little more fair than you found it." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You did that, Hawk. You really did." They stayed at the memorial until the sun started setting, father and daughter. 2 generations of Blackwoods who'd made impossible shots and changed what people believed was possible. As they prepared to leave, Reyna noticed something. The current Scout Sniper class was running PT, 47 candidates, 5 women among them, running together, suffering together. No one singled out, no one held to different standards, just Marines, training to become Scout Snipers. She watched them run past, their cadence echoing across the base. Left, 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 right, left. 28 years ago, she'd run that same route, alone in a formation of 50 men, fighting to prove she belonged. Now 5 women ran in that formation, not fighting to prove anything, just training, just becoming. Marcus followed her gaze. "You did good, kiddo." "We did good, Dad. You, me, Dalton, even Hastings. All of us. It took all of us." "Maybe, but you're the one who took the shot." Reyna smiled, helped push his wheelchair toward the parking lot. Behind them, the memorial gleamed in the fading sunlight, the rifle engraved in granite, the names in silver, the inscription that would outlast them all. Excellence knows no gender. Courage looks the same on everyone. 28 years ago, a young captain had made an impossible shot in freezing rain. Not because she was lucky, not because she was reckless, because she'd trained for it, prepared for it, and refused to accept impossible as an answer. The shot had made her legendary. But what came after? The 200 women who followed, the culture that changed, the system that reformed. That's what made her a hero. And as the sun set over Quantico, casting long shadows across the parade ground where thousands of Marines had trained, the memorial stood as a reminder that sometimes the hardest shots aren't about distance. They're about taking the shot when everyone says it's impossible, and trusting that excellence will always find its mark.